succession and executive success, Darleen called and asked if I would co-author a book on virtual leadership. She shared that a senior editor at John Wiley & Sons had called suggesting that she update her 2010 book, Virtual Success, a practical guide for working and leading from a distance. I was thrilled. From that time on, we dove in together to create Leading at a Distance. The process of researching and writing the book has been a fun and incredibly helpful learning journey. I've applied the lessons on staying connected, building trust, coaching, and innovating with our Spencer Stuart CEO practice team, composed of Melissa Stone, Hannah Ford, Ashley Zaslov, Karen Steinegger, and Maddie Conlon. That has been the very best part of working remotely. I feel we are all more in sync and effective than ever, although I really miss our team dinners. And similarly, I was able to lead a wide variety of CEO searches and succession projects, from eBay to Virgin Galactic, completely virtually, by following all the practices outlined in this book. Both Darleen and I hope that you enjoy this book, and more importantly, that you apply it to accelerate your own professional success and the achievements and satisfaction of your teams and organizations. Jim Citron, November 2020. During college at Holy Cross, I always thought that I would become a clinical psychologist. After college, I worked in a clinical setting at Yale University School of Medicine for several years, and realized that I could apply the same practices in consulting, where I could blend two topics that I enjoyed, people and business. This led me to pursue a PhD in organizational psychology. At that time, in the early 2000s, companies like AT&T and others began using virtual collaboration. I told my doctoral advisor that I wondered whether teams that worked virtually could be as effective as co-located teams. This wasn't just a theoretical question. I wanted to study real teams inside real companies. While I was conducting research for my PhD, I asked consulting firms to let me survey their clients. Eventually, Steve Krupp at Wright Management Consultants brought me on as an intern to conduct a global study. This internship quickly turned into a full-time consulting job, and that research became one of the first applied studies on this topic. My fascination with virtual work continued. At On Point Consulting, the executive succession and leadership development firm I launched in 2008, we conducted 3 more global studies on virtual teams, which were by then becoming increasingly common. We strove to identify what differentiated the best virtual leaders and teams from the rest. Over the next 12-plus years, we consulted with numerous clients and helped them better equip their virtual leaders for success. After publishing my first book on this topic, Virtual Success, a practical guide for working and leading from a distance, with Rick Lepsinger, we applied our experience to craft an array of leadership development programs for virtual leaders, which we eventually delivered in a virtual classroom. When I joined Spencer Stuart in January 2020 to continue my emphasis on CEO succession, I thought my passion for virtual leadership would be put on hold. Little did I know that just 2 months later, we would face a global crisis where organizations had to pivot quickly to a virtual setting. On our firm's website, we published an article, Leading from a Distance, 5 Lessons for Virtual Teaming, and clients began asking for us to help them learn to operate in this new environment. Jim began sharing my articles on LinkedIn and inviting me to meetings with his clients to talk about their challenges working in this new normal. When Wiley called to ask me to write a new book, my first inclination was to say no, given how busy I was with client work and the kids at home. However, I realized that this was the exact moment when leaders and companies needed the